Coach here for the women at Nova Southeastern University, and certainly not the type of season that you wanted to have, but when we look at the type of schedule you played, Michael, the pedigree, the type of schools that Nova went against, really it's not a year that you have to shake your head and be disappointed, because you certainly did play the cream of the crop.
Well, I set up the schedule, and I anticipated that we'd be a little bit more competitive than we were. We seem to be pretty self-destructive. A lot of unforced errors. Rather than being beat, we tend to
beat ourselves.
And you know, I set up a tough schedule, and I personally like it like that, because if we are tough enough and we do progress, I want to be able to progress on. I don't want to just go to the next round and come home in the first round loss.
There's a credo in tennis that when you play, whether it's a Saturday pickup or you're competitive, you always want to play someone better than you so you can get better.
Absolutely.
I mean, that has been the credo for generations.
That's the truth.
And certainly you try to do that with your schedule. Explain the type of schedule you played this year.
Well, we played 11 of the teams are in the top 25 in the country in Division II. And most of them were far above us as far as the ranking. And we played teams like West Florida, we played California, Pennsylvania, Lynn and Berry, who were #1 and 2. That's in our conference. But I even went out of our conference to find tough teams that we could play. And we played 4 Division I schools, and usually we do quite well with them. And this was just a tough year. I had a lot of young girls, a lot of freshmen on the team, and a lot of nerves on the team. What we're looking at now, though, is I have my #1, Alex Johansson, who you met in a previous interview, and she's #6 in the region right now. And hopefully she'll be ranked high nationally, and if she's in the top 20, she'll be an All-American. So that's exciting, and that's what I'm hoping to get out of this year as far as a kudo, a positive, as well as the girls did better at the end, better than they did at the beginning. And they did get stronger and more competitive, and that's what we need. And hopefully they'll come back with the idea of knowing what it takes a little bit more to play college tennis. This is not high school tennis anymore.
Right. Yeah, it's a whole different, you know, whatever athlete you talk to, especially when you talk to a baseball player or a football player and they graduate from college to the pros, or even high school to college.
Sure.
It's the first thing they tell you is, my goodness, the game is faster.
The level of play.
Faster. So now we get girls that aren't used to that type of tournament play, and because they're so young, and while many may look at the schedule and look at your record and go, kind of a tough year, it has to be gratifying to you that you know that you've got a lot of these players coming back, and it was a foundation set to see what can happen next year.
Right, I do, and I have a good number of new players coming in next year, and then possibly a couple of transfer students who have some experience, as well as 3 or 4 new freshmen that have had some playing experience in tournaments and so forth. And so hopefully putting that together, we'll have a stronger mix, and they just bond better. I mean, the team itself did very well together this year. In the past, we've had some difficulties with the girls
Bonding,
that's a good one. And we'll stick with that. And
there can be drama, we get it.
And this year was great. Everybody got along, everybody had a good time, but they need to take that over onto the court with competition.
Yeah. You know, really at the end of the day, you know, that's part of what you want to take away, is that it's a good experience for the girls or a good experience for the boys. I mean, I realize you're at a college level, but you know, student athlete first, athlete second, and make it a good experience. So you've accomplished all that. Now the winning has to be a part of it as well. That's the byproduct that you're looking for.
Exactly. I mean, I'm very concerned with the academics, and my kids do great. I'm just so pleased. Unfortunately, I'm losing my regular 4.0 student. She's graduating this year. And Dominique, who you also met in a previous interview.
Right.
And but the grades are great, and I follow them regularly, and that's what we can do here, and that's what's a vital part of their education, because when they finish here, the dreams are starting to become realities of what are they going to do with their future.
Right. Yeah, because I think that again, that's the end play. How many of these girls are going to have the opportunity to go on a tour? And how many of these girls are going to have the opportunity to make money at this sport, when in fact the reality probably is they need to figure out what they're going to do outside of the sport?
Right. I think they have the opportunity to go on and maybe teach, maybe to go on and work at a country club, maybe to do things like that more than play themselves on the tour.
You know, Florida has always been, as you all know, Michael, just a hotbed for tennis, whether it was with Chris Evert or Jimmy Connors or Harold Solomon or Eddie Dibbs. and we can just go on and on and on with the great, I mean, legendary names of the game who call Florida and South Florida home. You would think that this is one of those great places where it would be easy for you to recruit, to get the best of the best.
Well, yes and no. I mean, a lot of people come to Florida to play. They come to the academies. There's numerous academies, and but the homegrown individuals, the Chrissy Everts of the world, born and raised in Florida and stayed here and trained here and so forth, are few and far.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you can find a good number, but if you go and look at the high school tennis, the number ones are really usually pretty strong, and after that it's almost like anywhere else.
Do you recruit locally?
I try. I mean, I definitely go out to the local schools, and I get a lot of emails and letters from individuals locally, but I also am international.
Yeah, you got a lot of international girls.
I have to.
So now you're in the off season. Tell me what the plan is for the girls and what you're looking for as you progress to next season.
Well, when they leave at the end of the year, they will have a workout plan that they should follow and encourage a lot of play. Because the more play, the better they're going to be. I mean, coaching and all that kind of thing is nice and good. And if they don't have a certain shot, then yeah, they need coaching in that. But they need to play more. They need to be on the court so they have a feel, so they have a vision. When they're on the court, they need to know where every corner is and where every angle is and where the ball's going to go without looking at the ball.
Yeah, especially by setup. You know, if you hit to the ad court, chances are it's going to come to the deuce court on the way back. You know.
Exactly.
Well, listen, we're very pleased to have you here as always, and you're such a class act, and your team, despite maybe what the record shows, what a class group of young women.
Absolutely.
Who do well in the classroom, and we're looking forward to seeing the new recruits and this great foundation for what we see next year.
Terrific. I thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Made my day. Dr. Michael Coleman, head women's tennis coach here at Nova Southeastern University. Now it's time to talk about... Welcome back to Sharp Sports Wrap here on 640 AM. Tony Segreto with you. We are so happy you're with us on this last Saturday of April. And in fact, for those of you who are horse racing aficionados, like I'd like to think I am anyway, we have the Kentucky Derby coming up. You know, it's one of those few sporting events that's always the first Saturday of May. Did you know that? Sitting here with Eugene Canal, the sports information. He's got all the stats here. But we're going to talk rowing. And I have to tell you, this is something I have been looking forward to. I have really become a big fan of NSU rowing. And little did I know I'd be hitching my wagon onto a team that had an opportunity to do something really, really special. With us now is the head coach, Mary Lennington. She's going to tell us about exactly how well this team has been doing. And we have Megan O'Donnell, a freshman from West Palm Beach, who finds herself in the middle of this wonderful moment for this NSU rowing team. First, Mary, you explained to me all these wins. I mean, I'm just getting email after email, and I'm getting information going, did you see what the girls did? And you have really done something special so far.
Indeed, yep. We started racing in March, and the team has done nothing but pick up speed. And
literally and figuratively.
Right, they've picked up speed in all events, and it's not making for easy selection since there are so many viable candidates for our top-seeded votes for our national championship. So the hard work is paying off.
Okay, so let's go through this before we bring Megan in. You have a team of how many girls? So people may be listening for the first time. How many girls on the rowing team?
Currently, we have 32 women on the roster.
Okay, so 32 women on the roster. You get to have so many votes as you get into the regionals and the conference championships and the national championships, and they call them the varsity 8 and the varsity 4, correct?
That's right.
And how many of those votes do we have in?
We currently have a varsity 8 and a varsity 4, and this weekend we'll race another 4 as an exhibition. And we could almost boat a whole another 8 or another 2 4s.
Wow.
So we're one of the larger Division II teams in our region and even in the country. Yep.
But in terms of from a competitive standpoint, we have the 8 and the 4.
Correct.
And they've done extremely well. Tell us what happened, was it last weekend or the weekend prior to that?
So we've raced the past 2 weekends. Last weekend was in Tennessee, and that's a big regional race for the southern region. And it is, we raced an 8, a 4, and then a second 8. And all boats did well. They raced against Division 1, 2, 3 club level teams, and there were as many as 20 entries in some of the events. So you race through a heats format, semifinals, and then you progress to finals, and you take it one bite at a time.
And ultimately, how did we do?
We did well. We were the top finishing Division II team of all the entries, and we finished 5th overall in the 8. And in the 4, we won, so we beat the Division 1, 2, 3, and club entries. And Megan was in that boat, and the really cool thing about winning an event like that and beating, you know, the 28 plus other entries is in rowing we have a tradition and a history of betting racing shirts. So
we were just talking about that off the air. So tell us about that, and then we'll bring Megan in.
Well, it's really interesting because I started rowing at the emergence of NCAA championships for women's rowing in the late 90s. And this has been a long-standing history and a sportsmanship thing where when you enter a race, at the end of the race, you essentially, if you win, your competitors will bring their shirts to you, shake hands, you talk about where you're from, what your team's like, and it's really nice because it is very separate. Even though you're on the water, you're somewhat close, you're very confined. It's not like being on a court or on a field where you're, you know, tapping against each other or on a track where you're right there. It's open space, and so they get close, they get to shake each other's hands. It's not just a good job, but another connection. And so when women's rowing went NCAA in the 90s, that tradition stood, and then the whole betting rule said, well, you can't bet in NCAA, you can't bet these shirts, and since that's been retracted. So you can bet shirts now, and they do, and the women are so excited, and it's weird to see team members wear other teams' clothing, except in our sport, it's a sense of pride. If you're wearing someone's shirt, it means you won it.
Right. Well, let's bring in Megan O'Donnell, and just based on what's happened this year, did you have to get like another chest of drawers in your dorm room just to fill up your
coming back, our luggage bags were like stuffed, like our zippers were stuffed. We're like, we're not mad about that.
How many did you wound up with 28 new shirts?
No, some teams don't, like the club teams don't really give out sometimes. And then, but last weekend I won 7, and the weekend before, I think it was 9.
Wow, you're a freshman from West Palm Beach.
Correct.
You find yourself in this, what a year to be a rower here at NSU. First of all, I'm still very fascinated. What got you involved in rowing?
Well, I've never rowed before until this year.
Really?
Yeah, I was recruited to row. I've been a soccer and volleyball player my whole life, and I got an email randomly one day from the school saying... From Nova? From Nova, asking if I wanted to compete for a national championship for rowing, and I was like, wrong person, delete. And so I got a package from them with all the information, the whole school history and everything about rowing, and I took another look at it and I was like, wow, this is really interesting and really cool, but I don't know why they would send it to me. Like, it was really weird. But
you're a volleyball player and you're a soccer player.
So my mom's like, whoa, it looks really cool, you should check it out. So I was like, okay. So the coach called me the next day.
And who was this? Was this Coach Garden?
Yes. And they so like, oh, we have a available tour, come on like next week. And I was like, okay. It's like an hour from my house, like sounds great. So I came down here and watched the practice, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, not knowing anything about it. So when I came here and watched it, I was like, I want to do it. Like, it looks so awesome. So that's how I got started. So little did you know you were going to be getting into this.
No. I have so many more questions to ask you, but I have to ask you, Mary. I know you didn't recruit Megan. But I find it interesting that Coach Gardner, who's now at Oklahoma, fine coach, and certainly some big shoes you had to fill coming in because he was just such a nice tradition here, sees a volleyball player, soccer player, and you've sort of alluded this in the past, that rowers just aren't pure rowers. They're usually athletes from other sports that become rowers.
They can be. The sport is something that you do a little, it's not something you start doing when you're 3 to 5 years old, Tiger Woods style, right? So it is something you need to have a physical build for. I mean, rowing is starting in the middle school and the high school, but there is a tremendous amount of load when you do it at a very high level. And so to do that on a young body it's a bit premature. And so a lot of people find rowing when they get to college. I did. I walked onto the team at the University of Central Florida. I had not touched an oar, but I was an athlete at heart and in other sports before I found rowing. And so it's been a great opportunity for women across the country since the NCAA has picked up women's rowing, because such a large number of women have had an opportunity to compete in a sport that isn't their original sport or the one that they've done since they were young.
So tell me about Megan, and here's a novice, a volleyball player, a soccer player, recruited, finds herself in a boat for the first time, trying to figure out which way do I sit, right? Do I sit this way or that way? And did you practice like in a canoe before you?
I did, but it's nothing compared to that.
Okay, tell us.
About Megan?
About Megan.
Okay, well, we had about 5 to 7 just brand new walk-on type novices, women that were recruited or walked on once they came to campus in the fall, and they just needed to learn from scratch, and they had no bad habits to start with. So that was great. So they had not established, I mean, it's a muscle memory repetitive sport, and so Megan, you could see that she was an athlete right away and a good team member. So she connected with the women and just kind of got to work one step at a time. And if you really want to check something neat out, come by the office and we'll show you the video of their first strokes, because we definitely chronicled that. And Megan's come along quickly. So by the end of the fall, she was already showing herself on the erg to be a very solid athlete and picking up the technique. And then it's just continuing to refine different postures and things that'll affect the stroke in the boat, because it is a fine balance once you're in that boat. Little things that you do have to sort of, kinks have to be worked out.
So tell me about your first year and the most difficult thing that you've had to do. Obviously, you had no preconceived. I mean, you have no preconceived ideas of what you expect. So I can't ask you, is it everything you expected? Because that's meaningless. But in terms of, you're what, 6 feet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're a taller girl.
Mm-hmm.
What have you found? What's been the most difficult? What's been the easiest thing for you to do? What's been the most fun thing?
The most difficult thing, I would say, is just waking up early. But besides that, probably the erg. Never being on one and just... The
erg is?
Oh, okay. It's a indoor rowing machine.
Okay.
And you practice on it. You do endurance. It's basically a rowing machine just by yourself.
Right.
So you can go faster or slower than the person next to you. You work on your different stroke grades. Like how well you could suspend and get...
Right. I get
yeah.
it.
Okay. It's hard to explain if you've really never been on one, but that was probably most difficult, just adapting to it and learning all the technique and all the proper technique in the boat, in the water, the equipment. Other than that, it's been a quick process to learn.
Varsity 4, where can I find you in the boat?
Okay, in the 4, the coxswain lays, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and the coxswain's laying this way, so...
So you're the last or the first, depending on
the third from the front, if you're looking at it from the front.
Right. And have you? What's been the greatest experience for you so far, other than winning, obviously?
Yeah, I was just gonna say winning. It's a great feeling. It's not like any other sport you play. You don't get the same vibe that you do when you cross the finish line. It's just a great feeling.
Mm-hmm. You have really come a long way, this team. I mean, considering the young people, you coming in for the first time, you creating your own culture, you creating what you want to accomplish, your training methods, your approach to all of this. Mary, you have to be so happy with where you find yourself right now. Explain to our audience where you are now in terms of rankings and national rankings, and what you have ahead and what you need to accomplish to get to where the ultimate goal.
Well, that's a great question, Tony. Well, to give a little bit of history into Division II championship rowing, Western Washington, way out across the country, has won the last 7 in a row, and national championships. And so they always look strong coming in. They'd be favored, and last weekend they lost by a few seconds to another West Coast team who I think finished 2nd or 3rd last year at nationals. So it's open, and I keep telling the women, it's open. Keep pushing and keep adjusting where you need adjustments, and so that's what we're doing. And right now we're ranked top in our region, which is the South region, and we raced the South region championship, our regional race last weekend, and some of our Eastern Conference, our East Coast region competitors. So the next team closest to us in the Division II is the East Coast top ranking, which is Mercyhurst College last year, and they were ahead of us, ahead of Nova last year in these races that we're either have gone to or leading into.
So what are we leading into this weekend?
Sunshine State Conference Championships.
And that's up in Melbourne.
It is. It's we call it the Ditch. It's in a place called Fellsmere, Florida. Which
why do you call it the Ditch?
It's a ditch. But it's 3-4 lanes wide and usually somewhat flat water, although if you get an east wind, it's going to just tunnel right up.
Around here lately.
So it can be a headwind or a tailwind, but usually not too much of a crosswind, and that's nice. A little less disruptive. And so we'll go to the Ditch out in Fellsmere, and that's, it's close to Melbourne, so if there's anybody that wants to come out and watch conference. It's, it starts early like most of our events do. And
depending on how you finish, that puts you into the next stage?
Well, this is a race for conference championships. Yeah. The next stage is...
So it's not relevant. Okay, so I was just
trying to get that. It's not a progression. Okay. We'll definitively go to the Dadville Regatta, which is up in Philadelphia, and that's the second weekend of May. It always falls on Mother's Day, so since half of our team is from New Jersey, they get to actually go home and see their mothers
which is
that
good.
Weekend.
Yeah.
And depending on how we race at Dadville's, we really need to finish strong at Dadville's to get one of 4 team bids to nationals, and then there's 2 at large where you would only take an 8, but the team is the 8 and the 4. Mm-hmm. And you have to take an 8 and a 4 to win the national championship effectively, as it's a team sport, even though there are individual boat races. And so to do well at conference is of course a big goal for the Sharks and everybody that's going to conference this weekend. And then the Dadvilles is what we need to do solidly, and for the committee to give us an invite to NCAA's, and then we get to continue our season.
How exciting. This has got to be great for you,
yeah.
Megan.
Huh? I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I bet you are. And before I let you go, we talked a little bit, I want the audience to hear this. You got the tradition of betting the shirts. Mm-hmm. So now I was asking Megan, I said, okay, so you win a big race. I mean, like, there's got to be this tradition. Like, do you tip the boat over, or what do you do? Tell us what you do when...
Typically, you would throw the coxswain in the water.
But you couldn't do it this weekend in Tennessee because...
The water was toxic.
So the coxswain had to be pretty pleased.
Yeah, she was really happy, and it was freezing, so they were thrilled.
Yeah. You've been in volleyball, you've been in soccer, you've been in championships, I'm sure, in high school. As you prepare for the Sunshine State Conference, is it similar? Is it different? Is there a whole different feeling?
I think it's a completely different feeling. It's very team-based, and just the cohesiveness that you have with your team, it's greater than any team I've ever been on, so I enjoy that a lot.
Oh, that's great to hear. I know, Mary, you've done a wonderful job with creating this type of culture that you wanted to create. Because it's one thing to get a group of girls, 32 or whatever, to participate in the sport. To have them bond and be a team is another thing.
It is, and I mean, they bond right away with that early morning wake up we talked about. And even as Megan's talking, I can tell as she talks about the cohesiveness of her team, it's from a very genuine place. We've had some good, solid team bonding experiences where a few of our team members, especially some of the seniors who are so strongly connected to this team, have gotten pretty emotional, and it's a genuine expression of what they've done together. And they, of course, bring their individual A game, but they know that their best isn't enough without each other, and so that's been a special thing to establish, and yeah.
That's great.
A source of pride for me, for sure, that they have taken to that culture and taken it on their own, and I don't have to talk to them about being a cohesive team. They tell me how cohesive they are.
That's great. Well, as you can see today on the Saturday morning, I'm proud to be wearing my NSU rowing.
It looks good.
Listen, I wear it with pride. Thank you, Mary, for joining us. Mary Lennington, the head rowing coach here at Nova Southeastern University, headed to the Sunshine State Conference. Megan O'Donnell from West Palm Beach, a freshman, part of the Varsity Four. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Shark Sports Wrap on 640 AM. Welcome back to Shark Sports Tracker on 640 AM. Tell you what, that coffee gets you going in the morning. We're here to talk baseball now. We just finished talking rowing. Boy, Mary has got those rowers going. Coach Greg Brown, have you noticed they're up for the Sunshine State Conference? They got all these boats going. Have you ever seen these girls row?
I haven't seen it live, but she's doing a fantastic job.
Oh man. All right, let's talk a little baseball here. You had an interesting weekend. Tell us about, you find this is the first time all year that you lose a series.
Correct. Yeah, it was the first time all year we lost 2 games in a row. It was also the first time we lost a series. Again,
Florida Southern seems to be this almost like this Waterloo for so many teams to go up and play.
Well, they've been to 20 World Series. They've won 9 titles. It used to be called the Florida Southern Invitational, the regional tournament. So, hopefully one day we have that reputation of it being the NSU Invitational. But we went up there. They played outstanding. Our guys played well. They played outstanding. The conditions were unfavorable, on the road. We got held over an extra day because of rain, and we came out. We swung the bats well. We didn't get the timely hitting, and we dropped a 3-2 ball game that definitely through execution could have been gone our way, and then you win the series. So it's such a fine line between the margin of victory in our league.
3 weeks left in the season, and then begin tournament play. Tell me how you feel this team. You never want to lose a series, but losing a series this time of the year, does it send up any flags to you, or you just go, okay, we're just going to forget and move on?
At the end of the day, I was upset, because you lost the series with still one to play, so now you got to salvage the series. And I looked at our group though, and they were fine, and there was no panic in them. And it was the first time they've been in that position all year.
A little bit.
Yeah, they did, really. Sometimes you got to put the faith in the guys that hey, it's a blemish on the record, but it really wasn't, something that they can't overcome. And I think that type of group is very special, and throughout this year, I've thought, hey, we're in the midst of something special. And it almost just reinforced that very thing. One of the things that our group has shown is resiliency. We've come back in many games. We've dealt with trials and tribulations throughout the season. Unfortunately, we just had a player go down with a very serious injury. It's one of those things where this team has the ability to bounce back, and losing a series could be a good thing. When we go forward, we're playing the teams that we're chasing right now, that we're competing for the conference title. And, the regional rankings came out, and we came in lower than we wanted to be. However, when you look at all the boxes and the strength of schedule and all the things, well, ours is only going to improve as we go forward because we're playing the top team in the country, 2 top 10 teams in the country.
The greatest coaches in the world that I've ever been around will almost to a man and woman tell you learn more from a loss than you do from a victory.
Yeah,
So what did you learn?
What I learned was that that the margin of victory is often due to an execution, a bunt, a small thing. It could be a base running mistake. It could be that extra rep that they probably needed during, live BP where guys get outfield reads and we misjudge a ball. Well, conditions change throughout the game, and how hard they work in that time period allows them to just go into that subconscious level and just free flow as the game goes on. Because the last thing you want them doing is thinking during the game. Paralysis through analysis. That type of thing. And what we want them to do is be prepared and then just play. And I think that our coaching staff has done a great job of preparation with our guys. You just take a step back and you say, okay, well, how do you win on the road? How do you learn? You don't prepare the same way when you're on the road because you don't have the same amenities. You don't have the batting cage use during the game. You don't have, our full pregame schedule it's condensed during that time. And I think the way I just looked at it was, how do I put my team in a better position to win road series?
How a coach reacts is more important than how a team reacts after a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the coach panics, the team panics. If the coach handles it, well, okay, this is what we need to do, pragmatically, and don't venture off too far from what you've done, like in a panic mode, the team will react accordingly. So how did you find yourself in this position? Because, and again, we don't have a bigger issue out of this, but it's the first series you lose all year because you've been really on a juggernaut up until Florida Southern.
Yeah, we were riding a 7-game win streak. We were definitely feeling good, top 10 program in the country. And I think that I might be getting older right now, Tony. I've actually wised up.
Well, we would hope that we gain wisdom as we all get older.
Absolutely. I definitely took the approach of hey, matter of fact, hey, this is this tough loss, tough game. We got to bounce back. We got to come ready for the next step because the past, the reflection time wasn't in between the doubleheader. The reflection time was as we prepare for the next series.
Well, that's how they define a champion. A champion is defined by someone who gets off the mat and comes back and wins.
Absolutely.
And how you react to a negative is truly what makes you something special. So how you react to the loss and how you as a coach react to the loss is what's important to hear.
Yeah, my dad always taught me, the reason we fall down is to pick ourselves back up, And the great thing was our team responded. We had a tough regional matchup on Tuesday versus Florida Tech, and our guys came back and played I would consider a flawless game. We got a huge pitching performance from Shane Hill, a guy who hasn't had a lot of opportunities up until that point, but he came in, went 5 strong, got the win. We shut it down from there. We played outstanding defense, and we won 6-2. And that game is one of those separator games where now on the season we have a 3-1 record versus that team. A 750 win percentage, and they're right in the hunt for the regional bid as well. And so when you line it all up, you start going, okay, where do we fit in the grand scheme of things? Well, the only team that has an edge on us right now is Florida Southern, and they're not in the conversation at the moment for the regional. So I think that we're in a good spot with the opponents that we're about to play as well.
What do you need to do then? How many more games do you have left?
We have 9. We got a series versus Lynn, series versus Tampa at Tampa, which is number 1 team in the country at their home field, which they traditionally have played very well at. And then we have a home series we finish up with Rollins, our senior night. And, those 9 games, I think, will determine our seeding. It was also determine, our ability to get in. But, I don't have a lot of panic with this club because I have a lot of confidence in them. And they are a team that likes to persevere and they rise to a challenge. And when you're saying, hey, these teams are ranked higher than you, they kind of take that personal and they're saying, let's go get them. Let's get after it.
Preparation. Does it change as we now get into the later part of the year? Guys have tired legs, tired arms, getting hot outside. Well, the last week we had an odd cool spell. Right. But did anything change in your preparation?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's a maintenance thing. We're not really, we're not putting in new plays. We're not teaching, new tricks, to these guys. It's more of, hey, how do we make sure that they're in position to succeed? And so I actually, in comparison to last year, in my first year as the head coach, I've given more days off this year, and I think it's helped because a lot of times on a day off, the guys are going to the yard anyways. They're going to hit off the tee, they're going to swing, for themselves. And I think that when we're preparing a roster, you try to give the reps in those practices to the guys who haven't been getting as many reps because those guys might be the guys you count on. Last year, we have a great story in our regional win versus Harding. A guy who had, I want to say 11 at-bats on the year. He ended up coming up in a pivotal role. I pinch hit him, hits a leadoff double, ends up scoring the winning run in an extra inning game. And to me, it was just,
it's one of the best stories.
Oh, it's a teaching tool too. For me, for the club, hey, you might not be happy with your role right now, but as far as I'm concerned, he has achieved the most important hit in our program's history so far to date. And somebody else is on our roster now is going to have that opportunity. And that's the special moments, that grinding, the bleeding, the sweating that we all do, and you don't feel worthy, and then all of a sudden it all changes. Their entire experience changes based on one at-bat.
How do you manage a team that has so many players and especially because it isn't easy for someone who has to sit?
Yeah, I think that you have to make sure that everyone knows they're important. I have a personal relationship with every single guy on our club. Some guys more so, guys that I've been around for 2 years, I'm going to have more than 1 year. Also, there's a respect thing. Some guys, they need to earn, my respect as their head coach. I respect them as individuals and everything, but I think that they get to have a better relationship with me as time goes on. That's one of my philosophies. But I think that if they feel that they have a role, and they have an identified role within the conversation, that they can buy in more. It's the guy who thinks that he's better than or should be or getting slighted. That's usually the guy that's not going to buy into the team concept of what we're doing here. And you know, some guys have served in huge roles, and it's never come out in a statistic. You know, we had a couple guys. You know, Shane Hill would be a great example of it. He's been a guy who's charted most of our games for us. You know, from a pitching standpoint. And you say, well, what effect does that have? Well, in our advanced scouting, in our preparation, a lot of times our tendencies of opponents are going to come off of those charts. Well, Shane's performance, obviously, this past week versus Florida Tech, has definitely, you know, risen his stock. But his stock was already important to the grand scheme of our record prior to. But it's hard to quantify that, you know.
Exactly. No, I get it. And it's a real slippery slope that a coach has to play, especially at this level, because you know everybody wants to get in the game, and especially you know that how many of your players are actually going to have an opportunity to go to the big show.
Right.
I mean, truly, how many? If you get one or two, you're going to be really happy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, annually we've had 4 or less. You know, I mean, getting an opportunity to even sign a professional contract. You know,
right.
and so, but I think the skills that they're learning are going to help them tremendously when they become professionals in whatever career that they choose. You know, the team player thing, and the other part of it is we have a competitive environment, and you're not entitled to anything. So if you're a student athlete in our program, you have the opportunity every single day to prove to me and the coaching staff that you're worthy of the at-bat or the start. You know, and we have a case in that we have a freshman left-handed hitter who, you know, for about 6 months of being on campus, you know, there was a lot of battles going on, you know, of saying like, you know, hey, this is our system. You know, he thought, you know, coming from a very successful program, he thought, you know, maybe his way was the right way, and it just took it just took time of him saying, hey, all right, let me try this. And then once he started to buy in, his success just in batting practice alone was night and day. And so a couple weeks ago, it was a pinch hit spot. You know, we needed a big hit. Put him in the game. Comes through big time for the team. You know, and he thanked me the next day about you know, like, hey, believing in him. And I said, what you got to understand is that I believed in your talent all along, but I needed to have the performance that was lining up with it. And that's what he did. He through practice, we're evaluating every day. You know, in any job that we have, we're being evaluated constantly. And when you're the guy not getting his number called upon, sometimes you feel very far away. But the reality is, you want to contribute. But what you don't realize is that the opportunity is just one injury away, one play away, one situation where you can really affect the outcome. We had another great story. We had a guy who, you know, he hasn't gotten a lot of at bats. Weekend's going by. It's the 7th inning of the 3rd game of a series. And I called upon him to bunt. Said, hey, you need to get this one down. Comes in the game, first pitch he got the opportunity to put it down, almost beats it out. Comes back, his teammates were, you know, I mean, like slamming his helmet, you know, like pat him on the back, and they knew how important that at bat was. And so all weekend, you know, I mean, he could have felt miserable, and if he did, he probably doesn't come through for us. But because he had a buy-in, I think that it allowed him to perform.
Well, listen, we're very pleased with having the knowledge that the Sharks are in a good position to get to the regionals.
Absolutely.
And it's always a pleasure to talk to you and talk baseball. And you have a big series coming up. And with Lynn and Tampa, boy, you got your work cut out for you.
There's no doubt about it.
Good to have you, Greg.
Hey, thank you so much.
Greg Brown, head baseball coach here at Nova Southeastern University. 9 more games left, and then we're looking for the regionals. And then from the regionals, it's anybody's game. And whoever gets hot at the right time, right, Coach?
Absolutely.
Is the team that gets there. Greg Brown, head baseball coach here. Welcome back to Shark Sports Wrap here at 6:40 a.m. Lisa Bonet is not a slow learner. Head softball coach here at NSU, along with Melanie Spicola. It's about time we put an Italian player on this program. She's from
you would like that.
And she's from Umatilla, Florida, which God bless me, I didn't know Umatilla was around. You'll have to,
people do, it's
yeah,
okay.
you'll have to give me some more information geographically and topography of Umatilla. But listen, we talk about getting hot at the right time. And for those of you who have been with us every week here on 640 AM and have been big followers of Lisa Bonet and the softball team here at NSU, you know that early on in the year with this large roster of 19 and a real cross-section of young and more young than veterans, there were some struggles early on. You now find yourselves 12-2, peaking at the right time, and quite frankly, it boils down to this weekend series. You sweep it, or at least you win 2 or 3. There's a chance you're in the spot you need to be.
Yeah, I mean, we've put ourselves in a good position. We're giving ourselves an opportunity, and that's all we want. But you're right. I mean, we've gotten hot at the right time. The kids are playing good ball. You can tell that they're more relaxed. They're having fun out there. So we couldn't ask for anything better, but it's a huge weekend, yes. This weekend is going to be the telltale.
Well, if you had to write the scenario, if you had to write it, other than saying we would like to have our last weekend already in and not having to worry about it, but since you are in a position where you have to win it, you're home. I mean, that scenario is the best as you could possibly get it. You're home against Tampa. I mean, everything is in your favor. You're sleeping in your own beds. You're on your own routine. You're getting up. Everything is familiar to you. It's a great scenario for you.
And a lot of people don't realize how important that is. When the kids can be home, this is their last week of classes. They're getting ready for exams next week. And like I said, they're going home to their own beds, their own kind of time schedule, their routine. And we talk about, there's comfort in routines. So it's huge to be at home. And we have a great fan base. Everybody comes out and you can just feel the support in the park. And, when we do good things, you hear it and see it. And so it's great to be to finish at home the last couple of weekends.
Now listen, I don't want you to have to put the crystal ball in front of you, but the reality is, does 2 of 3 do it for you, or do you have to sweep it?
I think if we could get 2 of 3, sweep is just that much better. But I think if we can get 2 of 3, and even if we do that, it's still not a guarantee. I mean, we've got West Florida and West Alabama above us. Those 2 flip-flopped this week in the polls. We stayed 8th. They flipped, which I don't quite understand. But, it is what it is, and we'll just have to wait and see. While we're playing Tampa this weekend, the Gulf South is having their conference tournament. So, maybe West Florida, West Al can take a beating early and get bumped out of there, not go deep in the tournament. Valdosta or Alabama Huntsville wins it. The last thing in the world we need is for somebody other than one of those 2 to win that tournament. Right. So they're still getting points and racking things up while we're finishing regular season. That's a disadvantage to us not having a conference tournament.
Well, still you find yourself in a position where as coaches love to say, Melanie, and I'm sure you've heard it before, you control your own destiny.
Right.
You're totally in control. First of all, you're a freshman redshirt. You're one of those invaluable players on a team where you can play just about any position. Tell me, before we get into you personally, the fact that you're playing at home and how important the series is, we know that, but the ability to know that you are home.
It's a big relief because, like you said before, like you get to sleep in your own bed. You don't have to worry about, I have to get up so much earlier because we have travel time to go get to the field from wherever the hotel is. And it's so much nicer to be like, I can only have like 5 minutes and then I can be in the field, no big deal. And it's just being able to know your surroundings is easier too. You don't have to go check the field, is the bunt's going to stay in, like how's the backstop, like that kind of stuff. It's really nice to be at home.
Exciting.
Yes.
It's exciting to find yourselves in this position. But there's a slippery slope because while what you need to do and there's a lot of pressure, being able to kind of block that out and just play your game and let everything fall and let your ability win this for you rather than taking on the pressure of maybe trying to do too much is a real slippery slope that a player has to watch out for.
Right.
So how do you prepare? Mentally?
Mentally, it's just, you have to go out and be like, it's just another day, it's just our field, like, you know how to play, you have to be able to rely on your talent and know that you can do it.
From a coaching standpoint, how you prepare and how your body language is going to be critical for this weekend. If you show an uptight type of deal, right? they're gonna do that.
It's always critical, and my kids know me very well. They know me very well.
I want to ask Melanie about you. Before, tell me, give me a definition. Define Coach Bonet for me. Now, I know her.
There's
I
no
know her.
words to explain Coach Bonet.
Oh, come on. Give me an idea of her coaching style.
Very straightforward. You know what to expect.
Fair.
Fair, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Upbeat.
Yes, very realistic with everything.
Yeah. Coaches forward.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. A weekend like this, do you ever have moments where you're confused with her signs because she's given them a different way, and you go over, now, what was it you said?
Me in particular, no.
Yeah.
Just like green light most of the time. Read the field, kind of do what you want.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a pretty good description, huh?
I would think so. I would think so.
But seriously, as you prepare for this week, because and I don't want to put more importance on it than it is, but it really does. It's pretty plain and simple. How you and Coach Martin approach this game on the 3-game series and how you come to the park, your attitude, your body language is going to play a major role in how this team reacts.
And you know what? We're not going to change it a bit. We talked to the athletes yesterday. You know, let's not make this bigger than it is. We come out, play our style of softball, our game. You know, we've given some info on the pitchers, but not a whole lot from the scouting reports that we've gotten. You know, we just want them to relax and play ball. Play ball the way we play, the Shark way, and then, you know, we've got the scouting reports, and Coach and I will, you know, do the strategic part of that. But, you know, we've talked to them about that. Just go out and play and have fun, and play our way. You know, so that's what we've been harping on and practicing this week. You know, just normal practice. We're adjusting a little bit, seeing some, you know, up and hard stuff, and because that's what we're going to see a lot of with the pitching. So we are seeing a little bit more of that in our reps. But really, we're not changing anything. I mean, we have to go in and we talk about the 3 C's. We have to be consistent in what we do and how we do it, and do it our way. We have to be confident, and we have to maintain our composure.
Which is so critical. To me, that other than being confident, that composure is what's so critical, because there's going to be an inning.
There's always an inning.
That one inning where there's an overthrow that 2 are going to score, or there's an error that 1's going to advance a base. And how you come back from that is critical, correct?
Can't let them see you sweat.
That's right, exactly. And
Fake it till you make it.
Yep.
I have to believe, remember talking to you early on, you know, that you'd have a game where you hit well and didn't feel well. And then the next game you fielded really well, but you couldn't get any hits in the bats. Is that the difference now, stringing off this last 14 where you're 12-2, that you've been more consistent?
Yes, I think we've, you know, we kind of found our niche. We've, you know, we've come together in all phases of the game. You know, we're making some good decisions and doing good things, and it's come together, you know, and I think it's kind of clicked. And of course, you know, Sarah's doing an awesome job in the circle. I mean, we couldn't ask for anything better. And finally, we're giving her some run support. I mean, you know, we played a great game with Florida Southern that went 10 innings. It was a good softball game, both teams. And, you know, they got that 1 run in the top of the 10th, and, you know, we didn't push one across, and but we played great softball. Right. And they earned that one. So it was a good day at the park. We just didn't win the game.
Tell me about Melanie and what she brings to the team.
Mel is I call her Mel, doing a great job. You know, after such a frustrating year last year, it was really difficult for her. Got hurt early, surgery, rehab.
Where did you hurt?
I tore my ACL in both meniscus.
Oh, goodness me.
And had surgery, rehabbed hard, everything came back. Wasn't on the field, 2 weeks, if that.
Barely.
And just fielding a routine ground ball at third, and comes up to throw to 1 and just went down again. And so, you know, we ended up redshirting, and she worked all summer to get ready. And she's just tremendous. Like I said, Mel's a utility player, can play anywhere. I have had her at third, I've had her at short, I've had her at second. You know, she just does a great job wherever we put her. She's flexible. She may sweat a little bit on the inside till she gets comfortable, but she doesn't let you see it, you know. And she's like, yeah, I'll be all right, Coach. Just give me some time. I'll be all right, you know. And but like she said, I always give her, most of the time, give her a green light because I trust her instincts and her reads on the defense. She does a great job from the left side. She can drop it. She can slap it hard. She can hit away. And just to know that Mel's a freshman, I know she doesn't like that. She doesn't like to be called a freshman. But eligibility-wise, to have her for the next 3 years. And she's just done a great job this year. And I think has grown a lot from a maturity aspect. Tremendous amount of growth there also.
It's a unique player who can play on multiple positions because the responsibilities are so different.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, from cutoffs to backups to where you find yourself, you're playing third, now you have to charge a bunt. You're playing short, you're covering a bag.
Right.
So that really puts you in a really great position. You have to be happy with how you can change hats.
Yes, it's very nice because it's maybe they don't, like in that particular game, they don't need me at their base, they need me in the outfield, at least I'm still on the field. Like I still get to play, like that's what I love.
Right, yeah, because you can contribute from any position. And having her from a coaching standpoint,
huge.
Oh my goodness gracious! You pencil in that lineup. You've got a Mel there that you can put anywhere.
And you know we've moved her up and down in the lineup too, and she's handled that well from the top of the order to that 9 slot being a slapper. We want that speed to end there to start at the top again, and we put her in the middle too as 6 hitter. And she's done great in the
Looks like
6
you
slot.
got some speed, huh?
I'm all right.
Well, we want to remind everyone it's a big series this weekend at A.D. Griffith, the complex here at Nova Southeastern University, today and tomorrow. And if I'm not mistaken, it's when is senior? When is the senior?
Senior day is Saturday.
Saturday, today.
Today at 1 o'clock.
Okay. And I think it's important that, again, especially if your daughter is a softball player and you're not in a tournament this weekend, bring them out. This is just a great way for them to see. I know I brought my daughter out on a number of occasions, and it's an invaluable experience for them to see how the college game is played, how quick it is, how the girls prepare, the team unity. You've done a wonderful job, and I know it's a big series, and we're all pulling for you because it's going to be next week when we sit here talking. We're going to be talking about a nice sweep and going into tournament play where you're.
Yes, we are. Let's hope so. Yes.
You're ready. So Lisa Bonet, as always, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Melanie, I'm telling you, we need to have an Italian on here every week.
All right, sounds good.
Okay? We'll go to Mimi's, we'll get some pastries, we'll go to Runway, get a little food, we'll bring it here, we'll have a little buffet on Saturday morning. Okay, all of you who have joined us here once again on 6:40 a.m. this Saturday, thank you so much. And again, a reminder, come on out. If you're not doing anything this weekend, great softball starts at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Nova Southeastern against Tampa. All the support you could possibly want, they need out here. It's a great, lot of energy, just a great atmosphere. Again, thank you for joining us, 6:40 a.m. We'll see you next week right here on Shark Sports Wrap. I'm Tony Segreto. Goodbye.